like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to Friday. This is the end of the week. We are at the Friday event. We like to have a sound effect for that one. Hit it, man. Friday! Yes, it is. And we're going to get you all the way to go home time on a Friday afternoon. In the meantime, pushing the explosive buttons over there on the board. JP, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Not a lot to talk about today, huh?
No, kind of,
quiet news day.
Not exactly a target-rich environment for a talk show. No, there's things to talk about. There definitely is. Hey, great show laid on for you. Coming up at halfway through hour number 2, it's Friday afternoon. You know what that means? We set aside all the yammering, all the politics, all the stuff, and we spend a little time with JP on sports. So yes, indeed, JP, the guru of all things sports, is going to be hitting us up with his 3 and out, followed by the 2-minute warning. That's JP on sports halfway through hour number 2. And then added to the list, if you got the mail out already, you may look at the list and go, I didn't know he was coming on. But late addition to the show today, beginning of hour number 3, Alabama Republican Party Chairman John Wall will be calling in. We'll kind of get versed up with him on the state of politics and where we see things going. And oh, by the way, who's running for what? So yeah, we're going to talk to John Wall, Chairman, Alabama Republican Party, coming up at top of hour number 3. And then I still got a triple dipper. So hit it, man.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right, the Triple Dipper. 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you got to know as we run today's show. So you might imagine what the first topic's going to be. I'm calling it the Family Feud. Oh, yeah. The Family Feud. What is happening with Elon Musk and Donald Trump? Is this a total breakup? Are they not going to the prom together anymore? Listen, we'll talk about it. The Family Feud, is it just going to be a total bloodletting, or is it just like they threw a few blows and then they're going to, be back together? We'll see. Number 1, Triple Dipper, Family Feud. We'll talk about it in detail, and y'all text in all you want. Number 2, I didn't get to it yesterday. The plan is to get to it today. We'll see. But the thought police, and I even added a bit to it. It's amazing what happens when the government gets involved with trying to decide what you're allowed to think or say. And when that happens, it doesn't just block one thing that you said. It also puts a chilling effect overall on the ability of people to have discourse in general. We'll talk about it because there's some strange things out there that still need to be addressed. The thought police, number 2 on the Triple Dipper. And then number 3, in conjunction with our conversation with John Wall, yeah, we're going to talk about some good government, because there can be good government. Government and good don't always go hand in hand, but sometimes they do. And you have to be intentional with it. So we'll talk about it. Good government, number 3 on the Triple Dipper. All right, let me jump on into today's Rightside Way opening monologue. And I'll just remind you guys that attorney Stan McDonald, partner at the law firm of Wilmer & Lee, 30-year veteran in the practice of law, Rightside ruffian from way back, Stan McDonald is, in fact, the sponsor daily of the Rightside Way. And I'll tell you more about Stan here in just a minute. All right, you can imagine what the topic's going to be. So let me start off by saying, every once in a while, that combination of personalities comes along that impacts their world, partly because of who they are individually, but also because of who they are together. I mean, it's true, whether it be a combination of talent or personality or experience or just all of the above, sometimes being joined together has an even greater impact than what is done solo. Ecclesiastes 4:12 says, though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves, and a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. You see, God knows it. His word says it. Sometimes our strength is enhanced by joining forces, and sometimes that joinder of great persons creates a buzz, a following, a sense that this thing just got bigger. Well, look, 55 years ago in April, the world was rocked when one of the greatest partnerships in the world came to an end. Abruptly, almost overnight in the eyes of their fans, the Beatles suddenly came to a screeching halt. And since that time, some of the most iconic bands of all times have actually hung together, like, Aerosmith, the Rolling Stones. But the Beatles, the Fab Four, they were suddenly no more. And it felt, like really abrupt. They issued a public statement and they just walked away. Paul McCartney said it had been coming for quite a while. People just couldn't see it behind the scenes. McCartney was finally asked about it in a later interview. He said this. He said, the question was asked, is your break with the Beatles temporary or permanent due to personal differences or musical ones? His answer was personal differences, business differences, musical differences. But most of all, he said, because I have a better time with my family. Temporary or permanent, he said, I don't really know. They asked him then, do you foresee a time when Lennon and McCartney become an active songwriting partnership again? He just flat said no. And as the parting question, McCartney was asked, so what are your plans now? A holiday, a musical, a movie, retirement? He said, my only plan is to grow up. Wow. Yeah, the stories began to be written about the inner workings of the band then, the personality clashes, the differences in the direction that each wanted to go, creative challenges, and the feeling that one member wanted what other members didn't. And just like that, they quit. And the world of music sat back stunned. Fans were disappointed. Some were actually crushed. The music industry had actually been shaped around this band for a decade. When they came to America the first time, it was called the British Invasion. The Monkees TV show was patterned after the Beatles. An entire cottage industry was formed around their group persona. And then they were gone. And the world reeled for a bit. And then each of the members of the Beatles began some remarkable solo careers, and the world watched and listened, and it got better. But you have to wonder, what would have happened if they had worked out their differences and came to a place of resolution? Would they have done more if they'd stayed together, or were they better off separate? And that brings me to the biggest story of the past 24 hours. The family feud between Trump and Musk. It's been hard to watch, I'll be honest. Why? Because the world of Rightside, generally speaking, loves both of them, and we're loving watching them together. Elon Musk, with his quirky genius, his waving chainsaws on stage and rescuing astronauts from space. Donald Trump, with his massive ability to fight for things that we all believe in, push through the lawfare, the deep state, the corruption, and even the attempted assassination attempts to bring us one of the most amazing wins in political history. And as much as we love the two of them, we kind of also dug them being together, right? And then yesterday, in a flurry of tweets and angst, both men just like devolved from differing on policy to actually dissing on each other personally. And it is not fun to watch unless you're a screaming lib with Trump derangement syndrome and a burned out Tesla in your yard. So, I mean, what just happened? And are they done? Well, time will tell. My prediction and my prayer really is that no, they are not done. There's a few telltales in my opinion. I mean, one quick look at social media, you're going to see that no one is actually joining in from their camps. Nothing online from May Musk or from Don Jr. or J.D. Vance. Everybody's staying quiet in the background, and that tells me this is not irreversible. There's also a lot of really solid, godly people surrounding both men. There really are. And I believe that people like Franklin Graham have already picked up the phone and asked for a few minutes of their time. But what's the deal? I mean, same with the Beatles, really. Personal differences, business differences, and creative or policy differences. On the personal side, both men are billionaires who are strong on personality. They're used to pushing through their issues. Each man can fit a square peg in a round hole with their eyes closed and make money doing it. Their combined net worth is bigger than the GDP of most countries. And you don't get there to their level by being the kind of people who take insults passively. So one of them said something rough about the other, and it just went downhill from there. On the business side, Musk doesn't have the Trump background of having to work within the confines of government. Me personally, I've been on the record for years on this show in my published written work and as a former state legislator calling for smaller government. I championed legislation that consolidated departments, and I voted personally no on tax increases. I also saw, though, and I still believe, that sometimes the greater good does require taking an 80% win over a 100% loss, because that's as much as I could get done in the political realm. And it requires some measure of consensus once in a while to get across multiple branches of government and achieve something. I think Musk knows that, but he's more used to being able to fire people at will and move a boardroom on the strength of his will. He's used to having an engineered solution where he can see the result, and all that matters is get to the result. But Trump, he knows that everything that Musk is doing and has done with Doge and the spending in the big, beautiful bill still requires an act of Congress. He still recognizes he has a process he has to go through. And the spending in the big, beautiful bill, like I said, the act of Congress, those are things that can't happen just because you're cajoling on social media. And the cajoling on social media is never going to be an end all for public policy. To be honest with you, public policy should always be forged in the cold light of day, yes, but the votes are actually won in person-to-person conversations. Trying to solve public policy differences by shouting them out on social media is like throwing a mouse into a room full of cats and demanding the mouse bring the room to consensus. It's not going to happen. The only consensus they'll have is the cats want to eat the mouse. And then lastly, there's the whole creative differences that broke up the Beatles. In the Musk-Trump feud, that would be more about what's being accomplished. I mean, you can look at it, you can say Musk just set aside his companies for 130 days at great personal risk. He was vilified by the left-wing mob. He began making huge cuts to government, and he's ticked, I would think. I would be too, that Congress didn't just rush a bill out there to final passage that would codify his 100 days of work. And there's some reason to believe that he's watching the end of electric vehicle subsidies and regulations that benefit his own empire at Tesla, while wondering why the Detroit automakers and the union base are getting a leg up. I think that Musk would probably be okay with everybody taking one on the chin, as long as he felt like his competition was being treated the same. But Trump, on the other hand, he's got to look at the big picture, the whole thing, the totality. And in its totality, the U.S. economy, which drives the world's economy, it requires statesman-like views of the issues. And Trump, having to work within the confines of governance, is still fighting lawfare. He's still fighting the left. He's still fighting the media. And he's still working with different overall paradigms than Musk is. And then the fight just spilled over into the public eye. And we got to watch two people who we love and who we loved being in a fight together duke it out in an unseemly fashion. And like I said, there's already indications that cooler heads are prevailing. The rhetoric seems to have slowed. Musk backed off his claims about tearing down SpaceX and his Dragon rocket. Maybe by the end of the weekend, the two will have a bro hug and shake hands and laugh it off. Me personally, I hope they do. Not only do I prefer the Trump-Musk team as a team, but I don't want the left-wing nut jobs and the never-Trumpers having a single moment of glee about anything. The right side of the aisle has been crushing the souls of the left for some time now. And the last thing we need is to distract the world from how ate up the left really is by giving them something to laugh about. But if they don't get back together, if they don't get the band back together, then I can only hope that much like the Beatles, they go on to produce some amazing things in solo careers so the whole world can benefit. And I hope, though, that they find their happy place pretty soon, for all of our sakes. And that's a wrap for the Right Side Way. Yeah, I mean, it's a mess, man. You look at it and go, come on, guys. At the same time, everything I just said is true. The same things that broke up the Beatles are exactly the same things that are causing this rift right now between two great men. And I'm watching it from afar thinking, we need y'all to get back together sometime soon, or at the very least, chill out. Bill Williams, Right Side Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Saving the world one soundbite at a time. I got to tell you real quick before I go any further, attorney Stan McDonald. Yep, attorney Stan McDonald, partner at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee, a 30-year veteran in the practice of law in North Alabama. Listen, Stan McDonald is one of these guys he's great at lawyering. He can do everything you need as an attorney. But he's actually an absolute warrior for all the conservative causes and the policies and the politics that right side ruffians care about. He's been an OG ruffian from way back. So yeah, attorney Stan McDonald, he can represent you in any local, state, or federal court. He's represented his clients in literally thousands of real estate transactions over the years. I like to say if Stan McDonald is on your side, you're going to have no greater friend. Likewise, your adversaries would have no greater foe. So here's the bottom line. You need an attorney in North Alabama. I'm going to give you his number. You ready? Attorney Stan McDonald, partner at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee, daily sponsor of the Right Side Way monologue. Here's his phone number. 256-479-3020. That's Stan McDonald, 256-479-3020. Tell him you heard about it on Right Side Radio. Okay, I got to lick my lips and get ready. No representation made. The quality legal service be performance grade. The quality legal service with the lawyers.
You may have just gotten 3 10s in a row.
I sort of felt it coming. I'll just be honest.
The bit's over because you've mastered it now.
Where do you go from here?
I don't know. It's lonely at the top, I guess.
Okay, good enough. Hey, text lines are open, 833-687-4448. We're going to dive into this thing right now with Elon and Trump and try to sort of dissect it a little further. But if you got thoughts on it, I'd love to hear them. In fact, I see right now, John from Huntsville checks it in already. He says, Phil, fantastic monologue also. Did you hear that Russia launched a massive air attack on Ukraine that sadly killed at least 4 people? I did not hear that. Is that overnight, I guess, in Kiev in response to Ukraine's drone attack? By the way, JP, did you see the Indiana Pacers win game 1 of the NBA Finals in a final second shot?
Man, that was nuts. We got 2 amazing game 1s back-to-back series. I was thinking the Pacers would get steamrolled, but I hope not. I want the Pacers to win, so that's a good first sign.
Is that part of JP on Sports Today?
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah,
touch on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a little advance.
Yeah.
But no, I had not seen the missile attack in Kiev, but I'm not surprised. That's a mess. Allie from Athens says, "Newsletter, please." Said I keep getting kicked off. I'm sorry.
I was just telling you, I'm messaging her back, so we're good.
Oh, you're messaging her back.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right. If she's not getting our newsletter, I'm curious about that. But Allie, we'll make sure you get it. Dave from Capshaw sends me a meme. What you got? Oh, Babylon Bee. I saw this one. Judge determines that Trump will get the nation on weekdays while Musk gets every other weekend and holidays. That's wrong. Jeff from Indiana says, hey, Phil, while I don't condone gun control, I believe we need to take a page out of it and have tweet control. I think you should not be able to post any angry tweet for 48 hours, giving you time to cool down and recant your tweet before anyone sees it. I think it's far more productive than gun control. That's just a policy for life, dude. It really is. In fact, never send an angry email. Always pause and let it sit there. Don't just send it right then. Wait until you have time to think about it, because you may find later on that, I don't know, maybe your life won't be ruined by hitting send.
I've learned that the hard way.
Oh no, have you really?
Well, not like anything in particular, but and it wasn't emails. It was always just
text messages.
No, small, actually face to face. If I'm upset about something, I don't say what I want to say right away because I don't have much of a filter. So I've had to learn to acquire somewhat of a restraint and all that. So, but obviously Elon has not learned that lesson.
No, on radio we have an 8-second delay.
Mm-hmm.
In life, you might need more than 8 seconds.
Yeah, like a day or two.
Exactly. Shorty from Anderson says, hey, Phil, that was a very strong and powerful monologue you had today. I just want to voice my opinion, something about Elon Musk. I really do appreciate everything that man has done for his country. But I got a feeling he tried to dig his claws into a Donald Trump so he can make money on the EVs. And then again, I'm just a factory worker. That's just my opinion. Well, Shorty, you're welcome to your opinion, brother. I'm not going to try and change it. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. Hey, all you right side ruffians out there, you are listening to Right Side Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this one right here. I mean, it goes like from Huntsville back on over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back on over to Gadsden. I mean, all the way down to that loveliest little village on the plains we like to call Auburn. Straight across the border, what we once again get to call Fort Benning. And then there's big old patches of North Georgia and Mississippi thrown in just for good measure. And by the way, that's just the radio audience. All y'all that get out there in the whole wide world, go to the World Wide Web and pick us up on X and on YouTube and on live stream on our website and all of it. And then podcast us afterwards sometimes. Anyway, bottom line is, I say that to say we love all y'all. Thank you very much for making the show what it is. Okay, JP, your unvarnished thoughts. Elon Musk, Donald Trump. Before I poison the well with all my notes, tell me what your thoughts are right now. Where are we?
Well, so I think it's important to remind everyone where this conflict started, and it was just Elon's criticism of the big beautiful bill, and that
we know of is where it started. Yeah.
Well, publicly where it started.
Publicly where it started, sure.
And honestly, my opinion is I kind of agree with a lot of Elon's criticisms on this bill. Now that's a whole different rabbit hole, but just from the start, like if we're talking about where this started, I think Elon had some, fair criticisms of the big, beautiful bill. And, he felt like he did a bunch of work to cut spending and then they're just adding more spending. And so I thought that was a fair criticism at first. But then Trump, obviously, with his response to EV mandate, I think that just is what opened Pandora's box. Because I think Elon felt personally insulted by that it's almost like, oh, you don't really care about us increasing spending. You're just upset because your business got hurt. Like that's where I think it kind of got out of hand. And Elon took it way too far. Elon just needed to put the phone away. And, Elon's not very stable mentally. Like once he gets going, he just goes and goes and goes and goes. So I think I criticize Elon for going too far after that point.
I think I'll go back to one thing you said. I don't think the first personal attack was just Trump. I think the first personal attack was Elon with the big, beautiful bill, because he knows for a fact that is the entire legislative agenda that Trump took a bullet to the ear to as he's been running on it for 2 years, going through lawfare, everybody trying to stop him. He gets into office. His mission in life right now is to get that bill passed. They got it through the minor, the majority they've got in the House. And then Elon attacked it, and didn't just attack it. He came out and called it an obnoxious abomination. And that's like saying that thing you care about, that thing you're working for, that thing I stood next to you and said all these things need to happen. Screw that. It's awful, which is like a reflection on the man who's working on it.
Yeah. And I would agree. Why didn't Elon go out and speak against it when it was first brought to the House floor? Yeah, I would agree with that. Why try to sabotage it now after all the time we spent on it? I think that's fair. But just simply off of like principle and what he was, criticizing, I guess from my vantage point, I'm like, I would be kind of pissed off too. If I see I did all this work and y'all are adding $2.5 trillion to the deficit.
You say that, but what happens if they don't pass those Trump tax cuts? Then everybody in the world's losing money.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of like where I said, I think that's like a completely different rabbit hole. That's, very more complicated, but just bottom line, I think, it started as simple criticism. And then,
so what happens now? What happens with the relationship now?
I think I said this to you off air, like in 2 or 3 weeks, we could see Trump signing the big, beautiful bill with Elon next to him in the Oval Office as sort of a kumbaya, everything's cool now. But I don't think we'll see that for a couple. I think it's going to take some time.
It's going to take some time to get the bill passed, period.
Yeah.
Because, there were already a few skittish Republicans anyway who have now used this as their foil to become more skittish.
Yep.
And then there were some who were principled and already wanted new things anyway. I think Tommy Tuberville himself has even said he wants some more examination of the spending cuts. But that being said, that would be cool if they can get it signed and Musk actually came back to the table.
Yeah, I think eventually they'll make up but I wouldn't count on it being anytime soon. It's going to be a couple of weeks.
I think it's going to take a while too. Even if they sort of get back together, I think it's going to be sort of like, dang, I keep going back to these music the analogies. Dave Lee Roth actually singing with Van Halen again. You know,
Mhm.
there was this awful falling out. No one wanted to be around each other, and then next thing you know, he's singing with them, but it only lasted for a little while.
Well, they're never going to be best friends. I think there just may be hey, we're no longer mad at each other, and then they just go on about their business story. It's not going to be like, hey, Elon, here's a position in the cabinet now. We're back.
Yeah, that won't happen.
Like, I think it's just going to be bury the hatchet, move on.
Yeah. I think what's interesting to me though, and I can't help but wonder what's being said in the background. But right now, it is crickets from Trump's team, if you will. Nobody's chiming in, which I think is very telling. It's almost like everybody's like, just give him space, just give him space. But the people who would have to tread carefully are people like J.D. Vance and others, because they have official capacity. But Don Jr., not so much. Don Jr. has been an attack dog for his dad. Laura Trump have been attack dogs for Donald Trump for years. So they could easily be saying something right, and they're not, which I think is very telling. And then I also look out there and I go, okay, where's Musk's mom? Because Mae Musk is not a wallflower. She's a very kind of engaging personality, and I don't know what influence she has over his life, but I do know she's in his life very much. And I wonder if mom's saying something like, son,
Mm-hmm.
remember when you were 12, you did that thing? We talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't help but wonder if she's in there going, son, stop.
Yeah. Well, I mean, J.D. Vance put out he put out a tweet this morning.
With Theo Vaughn.
Well, so apparently he was in podcasting with Theo Vaughn while this was happening. But no, he put up like a generic tweet this morning, talking about how he trusts Trump. So like kind of commenting on it without commenting on it, sort of thing. But also what's funny, so JD was podcasting with Theo when this happened. Joe Rogan actually was podcasting with Kash Patel while this happened, and we got a live reaction during the podcast of Kash's reaction to Elon's tweets.
How'd that go?
I haven't watched the clip in its entirety, but I think the quote I saw was Kash saying, "I know my lane, and that ain't it." So kind of just like, but literally like they were talking, and Jamie, the producer, goes, "Guys," and put it up on the screen, and like we got a live reaction from Kash and Joe. So it's pretty crazy.
Good for Kash, though.
Yeah,
I mean that's stability under fire right there. Bullets come zinging at you, and you didn't run away, but you also didn't like just freak out in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. So he said, "That's not my lane."
He goes, "I know my lane, and that ain't it."
That's pretty funny. How about this though? I got to ask.
Mm-hmm.
So Kash Patel has eyes like he should never play poker because his eyes. Mm-hmm. What did his eyes do? Did they get big?
I don't know. I have to watch the full clip during the break. I'll send it to you too. But no, I haven't seen. Well, it's actually funny because I think they were talking about the Epstein files, like while this broke.
Oh my god!
So,
oh my god!
Kind of crazy coincidence.
Well, here's one thing I do know, and this is the part. I mean, so first of all, I said it in my monologue, and I'd say it again: is that I like the idea of there being peace and harmony, certainly, but I'm a big boy, and I recognize that not everybody always gets along. But there's this thing called decorum and professionalism, and I want to see this handled with decorum in a professional manner. I want these guys to get themselves back together because the nation loves them being together. The right side of the nation loves them being together. But the part that really gets me, as much as I want to see, the halcyon days of Trump, having Musk over for dinner at Mar-a-Lago and them laughing together on the stage and enjoying each other's company. And you could see at times, I was watching a clip earlier of Musk being on stage with Trump at a rally, and the smile on Trump's face was extremely genuine. It was like one of those things, like he was just enjoying the moment. I'd love to see that back. I'd also love the fact that they got so much done together. Because let's be honest, you've got Trump, who came into office and immediately brought Elon in to start doing Doge. And oh, by the way, he had astronauts that were still trapped in space. So he looked over at his guy and he says, "How about you go rescue them?" And they did. They sent, the Dragon rocket up there and brought them home. And just like one thing after another is like, they get stuff done, man. And so the idea of them being at odds is just not good. We don't benefit from that. We also don't benefit because the left is loving this. The left has got nothing going in their way right now. We have been crushing the souls of the Democrat Party now for the last year. I mean, literally, it's been a year. I think it was a year ago was it a year ago next week that we had the debate where finally Joe Biden could no longer hide his infirmity. And at that point, the Democrat Party went into complete disarray. The circular firing squad started. They began, just having complete freakouts. They had people bailing on them. Next thing you know, you had George Clooney wouldn't even support his guy anymore. And ever since then, the Republicans have had the Democrats not just on the run, but literally had them by the throat. And now all of a sudden, we've given them something to laugh about. Now all of a sudden, we've handed them a self-inflicted wound right when we need them to stay off balance. And I want it to go away, if nothing else, for that reason. And I'll be honest with you, it also ticks me off. You had libs out there for the last few months firebombing Tesla dealerships. You know what? Scratching people's cars up in parking lots. How dare you have a Tesla? Isn't that what y'all wanted, all you EV people? I mean, I thought you were to the Green New Steel. I mean, what the heck? The next thing you know, persona non grata to anybody on the left side of the spectrum was Elon Musk. And now they love him again. I love this, though, Fox News. I hold it here in my calloused former paratrooper hands. John Fetterman, Senator Fetterman, who Fox News points out has become somewhat of a maverick Democrat, was dissing members of his own party yesterday for suddenly backing Elon Musk during his feud with President Donald Trump. It says that Democrats have found an unlikely ally in Musk this week, given his public rejection of Trump's big, beautiful bill. And it goes on to say Musk has technically thrown a wrench into the Republicans' reconciliation process with his fiery posts. But Fetterman says about his own party, he says, the Dems, we've been dumping all over Musk and vandalizing Teslas or whatever, and now suddenly we might be more back into him. And he just called out his own people for being hypocrites. Republicans are seeing it too. I mean, of course we are. Tim Burchett, who, by the way, has become one of my favorite congressmen from Tennessee. Tim Burchett piled on the Democrats, saying it's kind of ironic to me that a week ago the Democrats hated Elon Musk's guts, and now they're basing everything they have on him. Yep. But that's the left. We have given them a cause celeb for the moment. We have given them relief from their own pain. We have somehow provided them with an opportunity to create wedge, and they're running with it. I don't blame them. I guess that's what happens. But we didn't have to give this to them, and I'm hoping we can take it off their plate like any second now. There are some changes going on, and I'll touch on a few of those when we get back from the break. But just right now, let's take a break. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just pulling pins on truth grenades. That's what we're doing. All right, so we're going right back to this topic we're on. Y'all text in if you want to. Text lines are open, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. By the way, the phone system is back online, although they're having to process in our phone number, so we can't give you guys just the chances to call in at willy-nilly. We can have guests call. We have to send them a special number to use. But our regular phone number is being inputted into the software base, has to be approved at the corporate level. Once that's done, we'll have you guys calling back in at whim. For right now, though, 833-68-RIGHT, we can still get your text messages. We got several right now. DJ from Huntsville says, if Elon Musk does decide to shut down his space program, do you think Trump would allocate more funds or give back to the funding of NASA? As of right now, I believe NASA is launching Artemis 3. So first of all, DJ, it looks like, and I've got an article right here in front of me that I'll get to in a moment, that, well, I'll just do it. Since that was a great text, I'll just jump on it now. Piece I've got here from Fox Business. DJ. Musk swiftly backpedals after declaring amid the Trump feud that SpaceX would decommission the Dragon. So, clear indication that he got out there and somebody probably should have taken his phone away. Somebody probably should have said, take a breath, take a time out, because he was tweeting things in anger, and everybody knows it was anger. You can look at it and tell that he was tweeting things in anger that he recognized later on he really couldn't do. Listen, every single one of his shareholders would have had a right to file suit in a shareholder derivative action if he's going to get angry on Twitter and shut down a major event that is under contract to the United States government. And, oh, by the way, is pretty much next to the Russians, the sole means of putting satellites in space right now. So Musk had fired back in one of his posts. One of the angry things that Trump said was maybe we ought to do away with government subsidies and contracts for Elon's companies. He comes back and says, well, then SpaceX is going to decommission the Dragon spacecraft immediately. Later in the same afternoon, NASA press secretary Bethany Stevens put on post on X saying NASA will continue to execute the president's vision for the future of space and work with our industry partners, hint, 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 to ensure the president's objectives of space are met, meaning we're not canceling your contract. A little bit later, Musk did an about face on Twitter. Somebody using the handle Fab25June or something like that said, it's a shame y'all are going back and forth like this. You're better than this. Cool off and take a step back. And Musk replied directly to that, saying, it's good advice. Okay, we won't decommission the Dragon.
Well, you know what's funny? I don't know if it was that tweet or there was another tweet similar where the X user had like 100 something followers. Like it was a nobody that just commented on Elon's post that he replied to and was like, you're right, maybe we should make up. So this random X user with like 100 something followers.
Is that the same one?
It was one of them. One of the tweets Elon responded to yesterday. Yeah, I think that's it. 525June. Yeah. So I think that person is not like they're a nobody, and they just kind of responded. Maybe
that's Musk's secret account where he talks to himself in the open.
But that'd be like me going on Elon's post, be like, "Hey guys, make it up," and then Elon be like, JP, you're right, man. What are we doing? It's like it's just crazy.
That's what it is, man. It's Musk talking to himself, or maybe that's his mom's account, and he knows it. and so yeah, Fab is really Faye Musk. No, sorry, May Musk. That's right.
It's May
Musk. I thought I had a thing going there for a second. But yeah, so there you go. DJ from Huntsville, just so you know, it looks like that. I anticipate the Dragon rocket's not going anywhere. I anticipate that the contract between NASA and SpaceX is not going anywhere. And I fully anticipate this is going to get resolved. But I will say this. There's one thing that was said yesterday that was like way beyond the pale. Like, good Lord. So somewhere in that mix, out of the blue, you get Musk texting out or tweeting out that the truth is that Trump is really in the Epstein files. And then he says the truth is coming out or something like that. And he says, have a good day, DJT. I mean, it was tacky. It was petty. It was awful. And what you also just did there is allegedly your friend, you just accused him in the public eye while everybody was watching of being a pedophile / rogue individual who's willing to shut down evidence of his own pedophilia. That was so beyond the pale. That was like so out there. That's way away from policy and contracts and crap. And I don't know what's wrong with you, and you've lost your mind. And all of a sudden, you've got him saying, "Oh, by the way, the biggest controversy that the world can't stand not knowing more about is the fact that you're on the list of pedophiles." That's just, to me, that was gross. But here's the thing: my lovely Charlene pointed out last night. Does anybody think for a second that the Biden administration would have sat on that for the last several years if Trump was in the Epstein files? Now, the problem is Joe Biden might have been too. I don't know. But the reality is that ain't no way in the world the Democrats had those files for the last few years. And by the way, keep in mind, they were being kept in the Southern District of New York's U.S. Attorney's Office, where they were prosecuting Trump, where they wanted his head on a platter, where Letitia James was doing everything she could as the Attorney General of the state to vilify him. I got news. If they had had a list with Trump's name on it showing that he was hanging out on Epstein Island, that would have come out a long time ago. Ain't no way in God's green earth they kept that one secret. All right, more to come. Family Feud. Give me your thoughts. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We'll be right back. just plain right. Well, welcome to hour number 2 on a Friday. Hour number 2 on a Friday. We'll get you all the way to go home time. Y'all stand by. We're getting there. Hey, by the way, I will step aside real quick and do some breaking news. Breaking news right now is the Department of Justice, Attorney General Pam Bondi, is announcing right now in a live press conference that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the guy who was sent down to the prison in El Salvador, what's it called? The CCOT prison in El Salvador, is back in the U.S. They extradited him back to the U.S. by agreement with El Salvador in order to face charges. And so he has landed on U.S. soil and immediately been indicted on criminal charges. The criminal charges, I don't know what they are, but I'm assuming it's going to wind up being human trafficking.
It was human trafficking.
Yeah. And that, by the way, that evidence is pretty damning. They've actually got witness testimony. The guy he worked for that paid him money to be a trafficker, the vehicle he was in when he was detained briefly in Tennessee. So yeah, Abrego Garcia back in the U.S. And I suspect this is a dual-headed issue. One is we're gonna finish up this whole situation with Abrego Garcia and quit playing footsie with courts who want to try and impede his progress, Trump's progress. And then we're also going to show the Democrats what they had. And then at the same time, we're going to wind up deporting him because once he's convicted as an illegal alien, the grounds for keeping him here are even rougher for him.
Well, you mean we shouldn't just let a human trafficker out on the streets because he was apparently infringed on due process? Is that how it goes?
I realize we've had 4 years of that level of heartless, gutless compassion, but no, I don't think so.
I haven't seen any Democrats say we were wrong. He's actually a really bad guy. We should, put him in jail.
They're about to. Bobby from Huntsville says, wasn't Elon against the big green steel, which EV mandates was part of that? I believe he was. He didn't like the subsidies. Basically, what was happening was a lot of his own competitors in the EV market did not have to do everything he did. He put up capital. He had research, and then granted, he got the benefit of some of these subsidies and things too, but not to the same extent that these startup companies were suddenly being flooded with millions of dollars to do things and then filing for bankruptcy. You had that electric bus company, Proterra. Proterra took millions and millions of dollars from the federal government, and then even got the federal government to mandate that school systems would buy electric buses, and then they went bankrupt. Elon Musk, on the other hand, has been what I would call a responsible individual in the EV market, and built something that people actually wanted, and didn't see the benefit in having his competition get a leg up just because they showed up on the day that the grants were being given out.
That's why I don't buy that narrative. Elon's on tape like so many times saying he's against it. So it's just like I don't really buy it.
The thing that makes me wonder though is, and I saw Ben Shapiro did a great dialogue on this. He said that one of the things that Elon has complained about is that the Detroit automakers are being spoon-fed back into survival mode now.
Yeah.
And the union base up there, which, Elon Musk is not a fan of. The union base is getting all kinds of, hey, we're going to help you. We're going to boost you. We're going to do all the things. And he's looking at it going, really? I just built a multi-billion-dollar company and you're going to give, them a leg up, but you're going to take away my leg up. Let's all take it on the chin. How about that?
And one of his many tweets from yesterday was actually something like that about how it wasn't fair that the auto industry, like you just mentioned, is not getting their subsidies taken away, but EVs are.
Although I will say this, he's also apparently a story by Fox Business here. He's getting crushed right now in the stock market. Mm-hmm. So here's a story from Fox Business. Tesla CEO Elon Musk, his vocal criticism of the tax cut package has left the company's investors for Tesla in limbo as Musk and the president trade verbal barbs. So what happened? The market's always so finicky. The market is always reacting, harshly to just mere speculative issues. The market gets jittery real quick. Well, they get jittery real quick when it's the president of the United States saying something. And so Tesla shares rallied up last month after, having a couple of bad months in March and April, and everything was looking better. And everybody knew that Musk was leaving because, by the way, he didn't leave the White House because he'd been thrown out. The law said he could be a special government employee for 130 days. And the 130 days was up. So they gave him the key to the city, basically, and they clapped him on the back and thanked him for his time, had a big presser in the Oval Office and sent him on his way. And next thing you know, things went south. In the meantime, when he went south with Trump yesterday, he had the worst single day in stock history for Tesla. Said that, where'd it go right here? Tesla shares plunged over 14%. The slide continued in after hours trading, sinking another 2.7%. They dropped a total of 16 and a quarter. Tesla stock is down nearly 20% now over the last 5 days. And that is a epic slide. In fact, I did see one headline. It was on, let me look at it. It's on Fox News right now, I believe. The headline is that Musk's net worth has plummeted $34 billion amid his feud with Trump. If that's the case, then he's not taking on the chin. He's getting shellacked right now. It's a little self-inflicted.
That validates even more though that this wasn't staged, because nobody's benefiting from this.
It's just money. When you have that much, it's just money. What's Elon Musk's net worth? Can you look it up? Is it like 200 billion? He's the richest man in the world. I know that.
420 billion.
420 billion.
Yeah.
You can't even conceive of the amount of money he has.
It's just numbers at that point. It's not even.
It's just
numbers on a screen.
It's like you wake up and go, "Where's the decimal point today?"
Yeah.
I can't see it from here. The decimal point has moved so far to the right. The end result is, I think that all of us are the losers in this too. Got a great piece from Town Hall that says, Kurt Schlichter wrote it. Kurt Schlichter, I don't even often read his stuff. He's really solid. He's very snarky, and I mean that in the right way. I'm snarky too, but he sometimes his stuff gets a little brutal. But I read it today and I thought, no, this is really well written. He talks about how both of these guys are what he calls national treasures. Trump and Elon Musk both are national treasures, and I agree. He talks about all the things that both of them have done, and you look at it. His words, Musk is a living legend. He's revolutionized, and I won't go through the whole thing, but just electric vehicles. He's revolutionized space travel. He's revolutionized Starlink with the internet. He saved free speech by buying Twitter with his own assets. Doge was a huge, but then he points out, but then so is Donald Trump. Donald Trump, a billionaire who risked everything to save the country he loves. A guy who's been through the ringer and gets what's possible within this political sphere. So he extols the virtues of both, but then he goes on to say, Musk at heart, and I said something like this earlier too now, Musk at heart is a visionary, an engineer. He envisions a result and then he creates processes to achieve it. And that's very binary. Either you succeed or you don't. Something works or it doesn't. That's not how politics works. Politics, he says, is about process. The outcome is often secondary. Sometimes that feels suboptimal, but the reality is it's not about enacting the perfect policy program or paradigm. It's about getting the best result. Elon Musk's success in the real world is based on refusing to compromise. He doesn't do anything halfway. And Trump was not much different when he started off in his first term. But when he built buildings, the building stayed up and got leased out, or it didn't. But now he's in politics, and politics is not binary. He says politics is poly. That's actually a great analysis right there. And I think it does shed some light on the perspectives of both men. But I'm looking at what's happened, and I think we're getting back to bid. I think the spat yesterday is still out there. Speaker Johnson is saying that he's been trying to reach out to Musk, considers him a friend, wants to see it come back together. Chip Roy, I mean, here's the thing. Chip Roy is in the Freedom Caucus. If the Freedom Caucus is saying, we got to pass this bill, and Elon Musk, he says, I don't know where he's at right now, but you got right now Chip Roy saying, yeah, I get it. But he said, we've got to get this thing moving forward. I'm paraphrasing here, but slightly, but that's where it is. And he thinks that Musk is actually reacting to the EV subsidies being pulled. I don't know. We'll see. I got a bunch of text messages. We're taking a break right now. I'll come back and get caught up. I want to hear y'all's thoughts on this. 833-687-4448. We'll take text messages and just dialoguing on down to the bottom of the hour. And then don't forget, bottom of the hour, we switch gears completely. Do a little JP on sports. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Just pulling pins on truth grenades. Christian from Decatur checking in says regarding Musk and Trump, he says, I firmly believe this feud between Musk and President Trump is a marketing ploy. That's today, yeah. Said Musk has built Doge and it's self-sustaining, but during the process, his own assets were harmed. It's a marketing ploy between them to reinstate Tesla customers. That's a heck of a marketing ploy. Crash your stock while you're trying to grow the business. I don't know. But he says they're both immensely successful businessmen. Yes, they are. Matt from Madison says, hey, JP, I'll let you know that apparently there's a women's NBA. What?
Who knew?
Okay. So, hey, by the way, JP on Sports Today, you might want to include that we just discovered there's a women's NBA. Never mind that your mom and sister were at a WNBA a couple of games last weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah. Is that the Caitlin Clark League? Is that what that is?
It's Caitlin Clark League, yeah. The Angel Reese wannabe league. Jeff from Indiana says, Phil, Elon Musk is worth $400 billion, so he has more at stake than any other person in the U.S. If the dollar collapses and we're on the path to that, if things don't change significantly, heck, we haven't even stopped overspending, let alone started paying on our debt. Jeff, yep. I got nothing on that. You're right.
By the way, I just found this out yesterday. It's a quick little fact.
There's a WNBA.
There's that. But apparently we spent more on interest on our debt last year than we spent on defense, which is insane to me.
Is that accurate?
According to Ron Johnson, who's been like the main fiscal hawk in this whole thing. That's just
him and
Rand Paul.
Rand Paul.
Yeah.
Steve from Harvest, Alabama says, if my text line will open, said not just the Biden and Tish James had access to the Epstein files. He said, I think it was collected late in Obama's second term, which means that Hillary and Kamala could have used it in their campaigns if there was a smoking gun there related to Trump. That's interesting. I would listen. Really? Hang on a second. No, I think that didn't the Epstein or wait, when was Epstein? It doesn't matter. That may be right. I thought he was arrested during the Trump administration. Was he not?
Well, let me verify.
Although, you know what? He was, I think he may have been actually convicted of
2019 is when he was arrested the last time.
But there was a first time when he was indicted on
and got a very, very
he's a pedophile basically the first time around, and he faced those charges. He was a sex offender. Am I right?
Yeah. Yes.
Brian S. from Huntsville says, so yes, Tesla stock is down the last couple of days, but I started investing when all the Democrats were celebrating that it was low, and my shares are all still up. So Tesla was lower earlier in the year than it is now. It's up 76% over that 52-week low. There you go. Okay, buy low and then ride it out. Okay. Good job, Brian S. Thank you. Matthew from Washington says, hey, Phil and JP. Matthew from Washington State checking in with y'all. Happy Friday to all of y'all. On the note of Trump and Elon, they're two grown men that need to stop with jabs back and forth. They need to get back to being peaceful, continue to do what's right for the American people. Stop giving the libs anything to grab a hold of. Y'all have a great weekend. You too, Matthew. We'll look forward to you moving back to Sweet Home, Alabama. By the way, update us on how things are going with the sale of your house. We'd love to know. Lisa from Tanner says, I love both these brilliant hotheads. I recognize the feud between them has the potential to derail much of what we elected Trump and de facto Elon Musk to accomplish. I'm praying for them both. Elon needs to find Jesus, and Trump needs more Jesus. That's a fair statement. What, you about to say something?
We got two billionaires with massive egos. Who would have thought they wouldn't be buddy forever?
Wait, they clashed?
Yeah.
They didn't always agree?
Like the most predictable thing ever, although it's unfortunate.
And isn't Trump old enough to be Musk's father? I mean, Trump's 80.
Yeah.
78. He's 78. How old is Elon Musk? Isn't he like 52? How old is he? No, I'm going to say, well, hang on, I'm going to guess. 47.
You were close. He's 53.
53.
You were 1 year off the first time.
Okay. So, yeah, Trump's old enough to be his daddy. Bruce from show some respect for your elders, young Elon. Bruce from Springville says, a man has to pick his battles. Musk didn't think first, and he picked the wrong one. I don't disagree with that. I think in the end, here's a statement that I believe is applicable here. In the end, only one of them was elected. In the end, both are powerful individuals. Only one of them holds the nuclear codes. And I don't mean he'd use them. I'm just saying that he's entrusted with that level of authority. In the end, yeah, Trump might be older because I think at one point Elon Musk made the statement, he's only got 3.5 years as president. I'll be here 40 more years. Well, that was tacky. But at the same time, that doesn't mean a thing because the next 3.5 years, Tesla could crash, SpaceX could go down, the world can change. In the meantime, the guy who's making the policy decisions that prevents those things from happening is the one who's in the White House. So just saying. Kim from Athens, what are your thoughts on this argument being for the purpose of seeing which Republicans are truly MAGA? Nice ideas. You know what? If there was a political agenda here, I think the agenda would be more likely to basically show the Dems level of hypocrisy and then to laughingly say, did y'all buy that? Did you really buy that? And then come back and say, we're fine, guys. That was all just to show the Dems for what they really are. But I don't think that's it. I think this is legit. I think we have two men who just got into it and the whole world got to watch it, especially since one of them owns they both own social media platforms. They both do.
X and truth. Also, and I'll just add one more thing. Elon is not a very mentally stable person. It appears outside. He is on prescription for stuff like ketamine and other ththings, which I don't know.
Where'd you hear that?
Oh, it's very open.
He said it?
Yeah, it's very open about this. So I don't know if that played a role in it, but I mean, I think it's just unstable, two big egos and one that's not very stable. And it's just what happens.
But you know what? There's also a lesson here for life. Everybody should take a pause before you send the angry tweet.
Yep.
Because once it's out there, baby. It's just out there. Last two texts, we're going to a break. John from Huntsville says, hey, I think this little spat between Elon and Trump's going to be over on Father's Day when the two exchange very expensive Father's Day gifts. He says Elon will probably buy Trump the most expensive golf club set. Trump will probably give Elon his own personal golf course in his clubhouse. Fair. Kevin from Huntsville says the tax cuts in the bill sunset in 2028. We're going to do this all over again. Why aren't they permanent? Kevin, I got to look at that because I was thinking that we were making them permanent. But I'll double check on that. Mike from Athens says it's smoke. The argument is smoke. Maybe. I think the argument is already fading. I think the reality is, I think right now, my sense is that Musk is having buyer's remorse on having said all those things and wishing he could take some of them back. That's enough of that. That is enough of that. You can text in if you want to, but we're going to set the dipper aside. And right now, we're coming back from the break. Going to do some JP on sports. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, all you right side ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Just covering down to some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. This show. I mean, it goes like from Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I mean, all the way down to that lovely little village on the plains we call Auburn, straight across the border, what we call once again Fort Benning. And then big old patches of North Georgia and Mississippi thrown in just for good measure. And that's just radio. And then, oh, by the way, there's the online audience, all y'all that go out there on the World Wide Web and pull us up on YouTube and X and our website, rightsidemedia.org, all of it. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. This audience is just like awesome. All right. So every Friday we do this thing where we like set all the machinations of government and culture and politics aside, and we step back and we dive on into a discussion on sports. So JP is a guru on sports. Like I learn from him every week on sports, but he's also got his own sound effect, courtesy of sorority girls at Auburn. Hit it, man.
JP on sports!
Nice. Every 22-year-old should have a girl shouting their name.
Hey, what can I say?
All right, so we got 2 rounds of JP on sports. We got one. The first round's called the 3 and Out. He gives us top 3 stories. Second round's called the 2-minute warnings with a buzzer and a timer. 3 and Out. Go, buddy.
Well, we got NBA Finals. The end of the NBA season is upon us, but we got the Pacers and the Thunder, who had Game 1 last night. I know I said it several times during the Eastern and Western Conference Finals that the winner of the Eastern Conference Finals wins the responsibility of losing to the Thunder in the championship. But the Pacers stole Game 1, and they actually had they were down by double digits in the fourth quarter and came back, and Tyrese Halliburton hit a game-winning 2-point shot to beat the Thunder. So a massive Game 1 for the Pacers at the Thunder in Oklahoma City. So on the road, stealing Game 1 was huge for them, and they actually did the same thing against the Knicks last series from I would say a game winner, but it was a big shot to send it to overtime, which eventually they won, where they went to Madison Square Garden and did that. So it's almost like a repeat, and one has to wonder if the series result is going to repeat again and the Pacers are going to end up winning. But this is an interesting series because it's like 2 small market teams of Oklahoma City and the Pacers. It's not like the Celtics and the Lakers, sort of matchup. It's small market teams.
Do they have small market money?
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, the NBA gives the smaller market teams, opportunities to compete with the big market teams, but still, I mean, the Pacers and the Thunder do not compete, financially with the big market teams in the NBA by any stretch. So it is pretty impressive that both of these teams were able to make it to the finals. But there's been an interesting discussion in the sports world about the finals, which I've kind of noticed myself, but it's kind of actually being discussed, out in the open and more frequently, of the lack of effort in the production of the finals is so low, and this year it's just getting even lower.
What do you mean production?
Like the visual, in the past they had like the court logos like on the mid court for the finals. Like when I was a kid, like in the 2010s, we had Kobe and LeBron, going like in their primes. You had the trophy on the logo. You had like a special cursive, nice like finals logo like on the sides. Like they actually tried to give, the finals a special feel. Before the games, they would have like like on the court, like presentations of film of like, old NBA footage of the finals. Like they actually like tried to give it some aura, and and like, wow, I'm actually watching the finals. Like this is pretty cool. It has a special feel to it.
So what do you have, like the Dollar General version of the NBA finals now?
It's just like another game. No new score bug, no new logos on the court. There's no special feel to the finals. It's like bland corporatism, and I don't know. It's just like it. I'd love to see the NBA actually give some effort again to make the finals a special watch.
Okay.
That is the culmination of your season. Your that is the grand, like that is the grand ending. And it's just like, why you got to put some more effort into it. So maybe that would help drive up viewers again, you know, if we could do that. So
fair enough. Is that one? All right, that's one. Two. What's got two?
Got the NHL Stanley Cup as well. We got the Edmonton Oilers. They stole game one against the Dallas Stars last night. And we actually got a rematch in the Stanley Cup. Did I say Dallas Stars? I meant Florida Panthers. Florida Panthers, we got a rematch of last year's Stanley Cup there. So we got game two tonight as well in Edmonton there. The greatest trophy in sports, in my opinion, the Stanley Cup. It is just the best. I mean, it's for sure the biggest, but the best for sure.
Like physically the biggest.
Oh, yeah. It's for sure the biggest. But also, I just talked about, the production of the finals. That is a great watch, the Stanley Cup. I feel like the NHL really goes all out to make it a special watch for sure. So yeah, we'll see if the Panthers can repeat or if the Oilers can get revenge for last year losing to them in the Stanley Cup finals.
Cool. All right. Wow, you're blowing right through two.
Meaty number three for sure.
Oh, okay, this is gonna be the big one.
The meaty number three. All right, so I guess the winner of this week's transgender in sports, I guess.
Oh my gosh,
being eliminated.
We need a whole dipper just for this, like a whole segment.
Hey, if I'll call it out weekly if I have to. But we got Marissa Rothenberger, this high school softball pitcher.
Marissa,
yeah, his new name Marissa, in Minnesota softball high school pitcher. I mentioned it last week when they beat the defending champs, shut them out. Well, they just won the state championship today, and Marissa Rothenberger pitched 21 consecutive scoreless innings for the team that won the state championship. 21 consecutive. That means nobody pitched for the state championship team other than this dude, and he didn't give up a run the entire time he pitched.
Unbelievable.
And it is unbelievable, but we also haven't gotten any comment of anything from Tim Waltz on this. I mean, obviously you're not going to. This is the guy that put tampons in, men's bathrooms and middle schools in his state. So it is kind of fitting that they would be from Minnesota. But we actually had Democrats protesting at the game, against Marissa Rothenberger pitching.
Democrats.
Yeah. Like they had shirts on against like Dems against transgenders or something like that. Dems against women's sports. So this was not just like we had actual Minnesota Democrat voters at the game, protesting against this. And the Minnesota whatever high school athletic association Twitter account put up a tweet of a picture of them with the trophy and said that, here's your winners of the state championship. And they turned off the comments.
They turned off. So that's a clear indication they know where this is going.
It's a clear indication they know that they're going to get some heat on this. So, but it's just the only way it's going to end is if it gets continually called out, and smushy governors like Tim Waltz, you put the pressure on them, you hold their feet to the fire. And I'll say it again, like I say every time I feel like I talk about this issue, is we got high school girls who have waited their entire high school career to get to that moment in the state championship, and they didn't even have a chance to have a fair competition. And they'll remember that the rest of their lives. You don't get to redo high school sports. You don't get to redo your senior year. How many seniors?
There's no portal.
No. How many seniors got to that point in their high school career and it was stolen from them because they had to go up against a guy who was pitching? And it's for to do 21 straight consecutive innings without even a pitch off. What does that tell you? That's insane.
And I'm going to stereotype. Can I jump in a second?
Yeah.
I'm going to stereotype for a little bit. Softball girls are usually stockier and they look more like they can like hurt somebody than most other girl sports that I've seen.
Yeah. Some
big corn-fed, Nebraska softball girl needs to go ahead and rush the mound and just take old Marissa down a notch.
Hey,
Go ahead and have at it.
He needs to be humiliated somehow, because he's so insecure he can't play in the boys league. He's got to go and beat up on other girls, and because that's going to prop him up somehow. But it's a joke. And I knew that when they shut out the defending champs, they were probably going to win it all. However, though, I do want to point out a win in this area, because Nebraska actually signed into law banning biological males from competing in women's sports. So that is now Nebraska state law. So although that, we still have these instances like in Minnesota, I do feel nationwide, people are putting pressure on those little instances like this, like in Minnesota. Like, I feel like, well, I don't feel like, I know during the Biden administration, this were to happen, not much would have been said. I mean, obviously you would have people like us conservatives calling it out, but I feel like nationwide, this story in particular is really getting called out, and I think across the board, it's becoming normal to actually have some common sense and call it out like this. So hopefully over time, more pressure is going to be put on the Gavin Newsoms, the Tim Waltzes, the Janet Mills, is it the governor of Maine?
Yeah.
Like they're starting to become the minority here, and people are starting to. It's almost like people realizing, saying the emperor has no clothes. It's like, you guys are crazy. We can actually say now, this is nuts.
Yeah.
So although it's still happening, I think across the board we're winning.
And the reality is, if Marissa, I keep doing air quotes.
Yeah,
I'm on radio. Oh, I do have a camera. Okay, Marissa.
Yeah.
If Marissa had just had a decent game and had won, but pitching 21 straight no-hitter innings, is that what you said?
No run innings.
Yes. Okay, but even still, if that level of disparity clearly indicates this is not normal.
Yeah.
That's not a girl. If it was, there might have been a good game, maybe even a win, but it wouldn't have been that.
Yeah, and if the girls went up against a stud girl pitcher who just shut them out, hey, fair play to you. You were better, but that wasn't fair. They didn't even have a shot.
Rush the mound.
Yes.
Clear the bench. Just go ahead and just clear the bench. Just come out of the dugout and go ahead and have at it right there and see how well old Marissa holds up.
Yeah.
That's what I say. Just make it ugly for a minute.
Humiliate them.
What's it going to take? I don't know.
Something like that.
Put it all on the line. You already didn't win the state championship. Just go ahead and leave a bruise before you leave the field.
Yeah, and you're not being fair sports. He's the fair sport, or non-fair sport. He's the sore loser, or the sore sport, whatever, because he's going up against girls.
Am I calling for violence in sports?
Hey, vigilantism.
All right, that's 3, and that's out. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. Round 2, JP on sports. 2-minute warning, buzzer, and the timer. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. I'm talking about just saving the world, one soundbite at a time. All right, we're back to round number 2, JP on sports. This round we call the 2-minute warning. So I've literally got a timer and we got a buzzer. He gets 2 minutes per topic, anything in the world sports. 2 minutes, ready, go.
So I'm going to start off with a feel-good story here. So Mike Leach, the late beloved coach who unfortunately passed away 2 years ago, I believe it was, from a heart attack. So he was previously ineligible to go into the College Football Hall of Fame because the requirements for college football coaches to be inducted is to have a 600 winning percentage. And Mike Leach had a 595 winning percentage. So
you have to have a what?
Like win 60% of your games, and he won 59.5. So 0.5 away from
round up
from being so now the College Football Hall of Fame this year has officially deducted their requirements to 59.4 to get into the Hall of Fame to let Mike Leach come into the Hall of Fame. So
the Leach rule
that's a big W in my opinion for them to do that. He very much deserves to be in the Hall of Fame for his contributions to college football. I mean, the West Coast offense, the air raid offense, which everybody uses now across the board. He literally created that from the ground up with his creativity and innovation. However, I did see it was Scott Butcher retweeted this about the story. He goes, part of me feels like Mike Leach would not approve of this, of the rules being tweaked for him to be in. And I said, then I'm like, he may be right.
He may be right.
Mike Leach may be sitting up there being like, really, guys, come on. Yeah, he probably wouldn't be tapping about this. But for what it's worth, I'm very happy that Mike Leach is getting his flowers and able to be rightfully inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. And, you said the Leach rule, just how about the air raid rule? You got
the air raid rule.
The air raid rule.
The West Coast rule.
He contributed so much to college football. College football deserves to give him his flowers properly. So I'm happy to see that story.
Nice. Okay, you came in under the clock. I'm going to clear it. I'm going to reset it, and you go.
So interesting story here. I'm curious to know the listeners what they think about this. The SEC is now ramping up its punishments to schools who rush the field after winning games. And this has been a big topic of discussion over the last couple of years since the SEC put in this rule. I believe it was like 3 or 4 years ago. It was $100,000 fine for schools who rush the field or the court in basketball. And now it's been ramped up to $500,000 this year. $500,000 the school has to pay if their students rush the field after a game. And my initial reaction is that's kind of silly. I feel like the rushing the field after a game, that's what adds to the sport. I mean, it was against my team, but it was great when Tennessee took down the goalpost and then went and literally dumped it into the river like after Tennessee beat Alabama. Like stuff like that is like that adds to the experience of college sports. That's what makes college sports fun and what makes it great. However, the flip side of it though is players get injured. Sometimes people rush the court. I mean, we saw Kyle Filipowski rolled his ankle when the court was getting stormed in basketball for Duke. And, we've seen instances of, fans, going up in players' faces, pushing them over. That's an aspect that's like, okay, I can kind of understand where they're coming from. I'm a bit divided on this though. It's so fun to watch, fans storm the court. $500,000 though. What can you do? I mean, they're literally going to have to put security guards like ironclad, like across the field to, hey, no, like literally security guards around the entire fence.
Or play inside a cage.
Or my head's like, okay, you can ramp up the punishments, but like people are going to do what they're going to do. It's like schools can only control that so much. But yeah, maybe they're going to have to, put security guards like link arms and like, we're not breaking, or make the fans pay the $500,000.
Don't tase me, bro.
Yeah. Maybe everybody that shows us to the game, you get, you have to pay to the $500,000 fine.
Hey, hit the buzzer. All right. You ran it to the clock. All right. We're going to reset right now. Ready, go.
Aaron Rodgers now has a new team. He has signed
I did not hear this.
$10 million contract, 1-year contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday. The news kind of got,
got buried under Trump and Elon.
Got buried under a lot of other things, but he did yesterday. He signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. There was a lot of questioning if he was going to do that. he made a comment about, how he was still thinking about things. And apparently the Steelers actually didn't draft a quarterback in the draft this past draft because they, expected Aaron Rodgers to come be on their team. It's interesting choice though, because, my initial reaction is, instead of drafting an old washed guy, why don't you draft a franchise quarterback? I don't know.
They got 1 year out of him.
They get 1 year. So
how old is he?
He is over 40, I believe.
Which is ancient in NFL time.
And not only that, but he just tore his Achilles. He's 41. He just tore his Achilles 2 years ago. So he's a one-legged 41-year-old quarterback. I get it. I get it. He's a Hall of Famer, and he's not a bad quarterback by any means, but I don't know. I think they're bridging, to get to this next quarterback class, which is much better than this past quarterback class. But Aaron Rodgers, man, he's becoming a diva of all divas. I don't know. He's kind of a locker room issue, in my opinion. We saw how the Jets stint went with him there. It did not go well, and there's a reason that Green Bay ran him off. So I don't know. I feel like Pittsburgh may be regretting this decision down the line when they get the real Aaron Rodgers experience. But hey, it's just 1 year, I guess. So
it was $10 million.
It's just $10 million.
Just $10 million.
So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if he can do any better on the Steelers this year than on the Jets. But I would bet probably not.
If they had called, I'd have done it for half that.
Yeah, I'll take about a quarter of that.
Okay, that's fair.
And I'm not 41, and I got two good working legs.
There's the buzzer. Do we have time? What do we got?
We got about 20 seconds there.
Take what you got.
Well, I guess we can talk. They got a UFC pay-per-view this weekend. We got a Sean O'Malley fighting a rematch against Merab Walashvili, who beat him last time. So that'll be a very interesting rematch. We also got Juliana Pena fighting against Kayla Harrison here this weekend. So a solid UFC 316 card. It'd be interesting to see if Sean O'Malley can get the belt back this week. He took a lot of time off. Wow. I did it again. But yeah, interesting card. We'll see how it goes.
All right. Good enough. JP on sports. You ran, 3.5 there on the 2-minute warnings. Okay. Good stuff. Great stuff, man. We'll come right back. John Wall, Alabama Republican Party, calling in. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. Just plain right. Well, welcome to hour number 3 on a Friday, because by golly, we're getting you all the way to go home time. All right, listen, someone who's been a friend of this show for his entire tenure as the chairman of the Alabama Republican Party is John Wall, who happens to be on the line right now. So let me dispense with any further niceties and just bring him on. John Wall, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. It's good to be on the show.
Well, it's great to have you back. We appreciate you making time. Listen, man, we're in what may be one of the craziest political seasons the state of Alabama has had for a while, but it's not just that. I mean, you're also the vice president of the Southeast region. I always say it wrong, for the RNC, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
No, that's right. That's right. RNC vice chair, representing the 14 states of the Southern region.
But that being said, you get a unique view of everything. I got to ask you before we go too much further. Elon Musk, Donald Trump, you're a party chair. What do you see? What are your initial thoughts on all this?
Well, I mean, my first thoughts are this is really unfortunate. It's a tragedy. I really believe that both Donald Trump and Elon Musk love America. And, you know, this is exactly what we don't want to see when we're fighting to save our country. And that's really what this battle is about, right? It's about restoring America and fighting for the future for our children, for freedom, for liberty, from the socialists. And so I'm really upset about it and kind of heartbroken, because I think both of these guys are Republicans. They're both care about America. They want what's best for the people. And I really wish that somebody, and you know, before this got to this point, someone would have pulled them into a room together and like, don't do it. You know, just stop. Everybody calm down, breathe. Let's try to figure out a way that we can work together and keep our focus on doing what we need to do to make America better.
Well, I agree with that. And I said as much in my first hour. And I'll be honest with you, I feel like, I don't know if they'll ever get the old band back together, so to speak, but I feel like this is going to wind up subsiding to some degree. But what I hate too, aside from the fact that I hate seeing two guys both of whom I believe in and both of whom I greatly appreciate for the things they've done and how much they've sacrificed to get it done. But I hate the idea that the Democrats, who are right now feckless, leaderless, pointless, they finally got something to laugh about, and we're giving it to them.
I know. Literally, we have them on the back foot. We're pressing forward. We need to have all hands on deck for the 2026 election. And the only thing that could really have stopped us is ourselves, and we're letting division creep in. And so that would be my message to Washington is stop, calm down, take a breather. Don't allow the mainstream media to keep stirring this up. Like call the person directly. And I'm a man of faith. I'm about to go biblical on you.
Go for it.
I'm a man of faith, and the Bible talks about this. It says if you have something against your brother, you go to them, and then if they don't listen to you, then you go to 2 or 3 friends, mutual friends, and if they don't listen, you go to your church, you go to the congregation, and if they don't listen, then you go public. So I feel like we skipped like 3 or 4 of those, 3 or 4 of those levels to have gotten where we're tweeting or truth socially at each other. And I think we need people to take a breather, to calm down, and to come back together and to get in a room together. It's easy to be a social media warrior. It's a lot different when you're looking at the person in the face, especially when you've had a close relationship in the past.
Yeah.
So my hope, praying, is that these two will get together in person. And I think if that can happen, we'll hopefully see things change.
I agree. And I think they're both surrounded by some smart and even godly people. And I said earlier in my show, I'm not going to be a bit surprised to find out Franklin Graham hadn't already picked up the phone and said, fellas, I'm coming up there and we're going to sit down.
What a great mediator. There you go. You hit the nail on the head. That's the guy.
Well, let's talk politics for a minute, because that's your gig, man. You are in the thick, and Alabama. I mean, golly, bomb, man. We talked about it last time you were on the show. Every single statewide office is open. 1 U.S. Senate seat is open. And we're talking about no incumbents. This is like a wide open race. It's an all call. I'm not aware, John, is there anybody else besides Senator Tuberville who is qualified to run for the governor's office yet?
Look, great question. And this is one of those situations where I don't know that I have ever seen in my, not just in Alabama, but in my political career, Alabama or nationwide, where you have a non-incumbent clear the field like Tommy Tuberville has.
Yeah.
It's really incredible. His fundraising numbers, his polling numbers, his popularity, it's off the charts. That being said, there is one other candidate who has announced that he plans to run. That's Ken McPheeters from Pelham. But look, as of right now, I do not expect this to be a competitive race. Tommy Tuberville has what it takes to get across the finish line, and I think everyone knows it.
Well, I think that's absolutely true. I think the U.S. Senate race is going to be interesting. I mean, we're watching, of course, Steve Marshall. We're watching Jared Hudson. I'm trying to think who else. I just lost my train of thought, but we've got several of what I would call real candidates in the race there. Caroline Dobson has been talked about. I've not heard of anything about her qualifying. She hasn't qualified, has she?
No, she's not. But I do expect this field to grow. We're only a little over a week since Tuberville announced. I think we will see other candidates in this race. Whether that's Caroline Dobson, I think is a strong possibility. She's an intriguing candidate. There's some rumors about Barry Moore, congressman from the 2nd Congressional District. I could see him getting in the race. There's been some rumors about Bruce Pearl, Auburn's basketball coach. So, and that's not even considering a potential, dark horse, maybe a businessman or somebody we're not even thinking about in the political circles. So I think the Senate race could get very, very interesting by the end of it.
On that Bruce Pearl thing, and listen, if you're in a position of confidentiality, you just tell me. But the reality is, on Bruce Pearl, multiple stories out there that he gave $1,000 to Shamari Figures to run as a Democrat against Caroline Dobson, which just feels a little bit like makes me want to sit back in my chair and go, what just happened? But
yeah,
what do you know about that? And my understanding of the bylaws is, unless there's a waiver given, that would disqualify him.
I was going to say, I want to start by making it clear that, right now with my position as state party chairman at this current time, it's the party's job to be the referee. We don't get involved in the primaries. We don't want to, we don't pick between candidates. We want to make sure that it's a fair, even playing field and let the voters of Alabama decide. But there are some rules. the bylaws. That is basically the equivalent, on the federal level, governmental level of the Constitution. The bylaws of the party are basically the Constitution. They're hard to amend. They're hard to change. You can't just suspend them. They are the law of the party. And some of those rules have been put in place to make sure that candidates who have supported Democrats are not allowed to run as Republicans. And this, I have not personally looked up Bruce Pearl's donations, but if he has indeed voted or openly supported, endorsed, or donated to a Democrat candidate, there is a 6-year prohibition on that anyone being able to run as a Republican after they did that.
Yeah.
And so, I could see this being problematic.
Well, I guess we'll see. And I know that process. I've seen that process work before. I've actually been involved in seeing people switch parties, and then there's a review process, and there's even an opportunity for someone to actually intervene and say, I object. And so we'll watch it play out. Hey, let me ask you this real quick, man. What do you see? I mean, I can see, like in Alabama, we can see, I think the most competitive races are going to wind up being U.S. Senate and maybe even Lieutenant Governor. But what are you seeing in your other states? What are you seeing in your other states that are underneath your purview as the vice chair? Is anybody else having the free-for-all that Alabama's about to be into?
I think we're probably going to be the biggest, the most active state, maybe in the country. There is some intriguing stuff going on though around the region. Up in Tennessee, a similar situation to us with their governor's race, where they have a term-limited governor. Marsha Blackburn,
right,
is coming back, not running for re-election, or she has an open shot at this because she just won her re-election for Senate 2 years ago. Going to run for governor. Probably going to be the front-running candidate there. So that's going to be a fun race to watch. And then over in Georgia, I mean, all eyes are going to be on that Senate seat. It's probably the Republicans' best opportunity to pick up a Senate seat in this cycle. So, watching that very closely, especially with Governor Brian Kemp having announced he's not running.
Yeah,
that really opens that field up on the Republican side to see, who's going to get the Republican nomination. But even more importantly, can we get that Republican nominee across the finish line in November and pick up a Senate seat for the Republicans?
I think it will be amazing, and I say this just in a somewhat speculative but also hopeful fashion, is that if we can see Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, Arkansas, if we can see this not just be red, but to be truly conservatively red, I'd love to see the southeastern block of states.
100%. Look, I am so ready for Alabama to take the lead. I call it our birthright.
Yeah.
Look, you're not going to find a state where the people want this more than Alabama. Like they want to be the leaders, fighting for conservative principles, defending people's rights and freedoms, and really getting in there. I'm tired of looking to Florida and Ron DeSantis and following their lead. I'm like, let's have Alabama lead. Let's get Florida following us when it comes to conservative policy.
Absolutely.
I think the people are ready for it. I think we deserve that position. And I say, look, let 2026 be the year where Alabama emerges as the leader on the national level when it comes to conservative common sense policy.
I agree, man. And then just be the leader among a southeastern block that, like, if you want to get the vote, you got to have the southeastern states in your side.
Well, 100%.
John Wall, chairman of the Alabama Republican Party, really appreciate you making time. You and I were talking earlier this morning, and you just up and said, sure, I'll call in. So this was a last minute edition, and we really appreciate your availability.
Well, look, it's always good to be on the show. Glad to be part of the team. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side.
Love it. All right, man. Have a great weekend. Thank you much.
You too, sir. Good to be on the show.
All right. What a great, can you just go ahead and take that audio clip and play that?
I actually will. I'll go back and grab that.
All right. We're taking a break right now. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Just saving the world one soundbite at a time. I got several of y'all texting in. Let me get a few of those text messages. Backing off a little bit. All right, there we go. Thank you very much.
Straighten it up. It was
thank
pointed
you.
at your chest there.
I'm sorry. My microphone was off, and JP was telling me that I was like talking through my shirt. I don't know what's happening. JR from Rogersville says, Colonel, it's too bad that Trump and Elon Musk got into a verbal fight. What could be worse? Can you imagine the hay the Democrats would have made had Trump given Elon Tesla the cost breaks? 2, had Elon been given contracts dealing with space travel science, along with breaks Elon wanted for Tesla, the mainstream media would be wall to wall with, you can plainly see how Trump takes care of the mega wealthy. Trump could care less about the average person. You know, JR, you're not wrong. It's a good point. If some kind of special exception had been carved out for Elon as a reward, it would have been said the entire time, Doge was just a trick to enrich himself. Still, you hate to see it happening. David at Bucky's says, JP, this is to you. JP, the WCWS between Texas and Texas Tech has become a classic. Yes, it has.
I have watched that. I mean, I can only cover so many sports in the JP on sports, but I have noticed. Yeah, it's been quite awesome.
Marshall from Dubai says this one's for JP. He called Aaron Rodgers a one-legged quarterback. Have a great weekend, guys. What do we have? Oh, he sent us nice.
It's Aaron Rodgers with a fake leg.
He got a prosthesis. Nice. He whipped that up for you right there on the spot.
I guess he did, yeah.
Thanks, Marshall. Appreciate you. Adam from Athens says, wasn't Mike Leach, this is going back to your JP too, wasn't Mike Leach the one who wanted to recruit a little person to throw over the line on short yards plays?
He did.
No way.
He did.
No way.
This came out, one of his former players or somebody within it was this year, said apparently he was scheming up instead of doing QB sneaks to recruit a little person and just throw him across the line.
Just throw him.
Just pick him up and throw him across.
That's wrong. That is so wrong.
I think that speaks to his creativity. I'll just say
that. God. That is, but then what happens when somebody catches the little person and runs with him back down the field?
That's the problem. They just take him and throw him back. And they just
that's just layers of wrong. Like layers and layers. Brad from Athens says there's no mention of Auburn Super Regional this weekend. Boo, JP, boo.
Yeah, so Auburn plays Coastal Carolina tonight in the Super Regional down in Auburn.
Coastal Carolina. Mm-hmm. Okay. Auburn's still jamming up pretty good.
Auburn's gone on a
baseball
roll.
We're talking about.
Baseball, yeah. Auburn's gone on a roll.
Where's Bama baseball right now? Okay.
Yep.
Bruce from Springville says, I'm beginning to suspect that Musk has missed a few doses of his meds. There is that. We shall not comment further. We don't know.
By the way, sorry, change the topic. We got comments on the YouTube.
Yeah, what you got?
John from Huntsville talking about the schools rushing the fields. The schools that rush the field should not be fined. In fact, they should get bonus money for rushing the field.
Bonus money.
Or court, especially when they take down the almighty Crimson Tide, is what he says. Dave from Bucky's also says $500,000 for rushing the field or court after a win. Those rushing the field or court should be paying the fine. I don't think increased fines will prevent it. That's what he says.
I don't think increased fines will prevent it either. I think what's going to happen is it's the heat of the moment. It's almost like in a contract action as an attorney, we always write in a force majeure, which is a act of God, things you can't control.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you right now that every network contract is going to have a we don't control our fans provision written in.
Wait, so you're telling me that a bunch of college students who probably had too much to drink before the game are going to do something stupid? I find that hard to believe.
I don't want to presuppose. I don't want to stereotype, but I'm just saying listen, it's you think Musk is making bad decisions.
Yeah.
19-year-olds with a six-pack.
Yeah.
Rushing the field after a big game.
After a big win. Yeah.
Yeah, with their body paint on, I'm pretty sure. All right, tell the truth. You're a body paint for a game? Never body painted for a game? Never once?
No.
All right, true story. Your cousin, my son, Josh, body painted for an Auburn game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I visited his room. Oh, gosh, I mean, months later. There was still blue paint in the toilet, in the tub. I'm like, come on, son.
The only thing I have done, though, is I've worn what are those red morph suits you wear over, or the morph suits you can wear over your entire body? Me and my buddy wore one of those when our high school was playing in the state championship in basketball. I did do that. I wore one of those to the game. So
I don't think I would have admitted that.
Hey, come on. Hey. I think that's school spirit right there.
There you go. All right, fair enough. All right, listen, we're taking a break. Coming right back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio Friday afternoon. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. Hey, all you right side ruffians out there, you are listening to Right Side Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. This show goes from like Huntsville back on over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back on over to Gadsden. I mean, down to that loveliest little village on the plains we call Auburn, straight across the border, what we call, once again, Fort Benning. That's right, home of the airborne, Fort Benning. And then, oh, by the way, big old patches, North Georgia and Mississippi all thrown in just for good measure. And that's just the radio audience. And then there's all y'all online, and we appreciate you who stream the show every single day, pick it up in podcast form, and listen, we can't do it without you. There's no reason to even be here if it weren't for y'all. So thank you very much. We appreciate this audience. I got to say real quick, we got one text before I go to the phones. John from Huntsville just texted in. He says, speaking of body paint, JP, have you ever seen the guy on the internet that tattooed his entire back with Nick Saban's face, and each year Alabama won the national championship year? JP, I know you love Alabama, but please never do anything that stupid. Maybe a War Eagle tattoo, but please not Nick Saban's face.
I'm never getting any tattoos ever, so I don't think you got to worry about that. Especially another person's face on my back.
So you're not getting Nick Saban tatted on your back.
I don't know if I love him that much to do that. No.
Okay, there'd be a family intervention if you did.
Yeah, rightfully so.
Hey, let me go to the phones because I do believe that he's on there right now. Jeff Rowe from Indiana. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I've got a cousin that's got Gene Simmons and the rest of the kids tattooed all the way across his back. So.
You told me that.
Yeah, he did that when he was young. He's like 60 years old now. It's not pretty.
You sent me a picture of that one time, as a matter of fact, and it's looking like the guys look kind of sad as their faces got longer. I'm not sure how that worked out.
Yeah, it's like the girls that get the pretty little dolphin tattooed on a tramp stamp when they're young and everything, and it turns into a beluga whale when they're old.
Oh man, okay, don't ever talk tattoos with Jeff again. I know that to be a fact. Oh wow, man. Well, hey, what do you think about all this stuff that we've been talking about today? My gosh, it's a news environment we're in.
Well, I just hope Elon didn't put any explosive devices into Starlink satellites or whatever. He could take out the whole world right now if he gets mad.
Just go ahead and let them all crash to the earth, and they're all explosives. That'd be ugly. I just look at it and think, man, this whole thing was so unnecessary. Really, kind of from both sides, but I think that the whole thing went nuclear when he tried to pull out the Epstein accusation. That was like way beyond the pale.
Yeah, he has less of a governor than what Trump has, I think. So that's pretty bad. So
yeah, and he owns the platform, so nobody can stop him.
Yeah, but he's not wrong. I mean, as far as the thing, you know. I'm a high school graduate that just become a dumb truck driver, and then I'm autodidact is the only reason why I know anything at all, basically, which means self-taught. And but you know, that's like JP said a while ago, that the interest on what we've borrowed is more than what we're spending on our entire militaries. Can you imagine what this country would be like if we didn't have that debt? But the trouble is, you have politicians spending someone else's money, which is more addictive than crack or any other kind of drug, I believe, because it's like, I'm going to spend more money than someone else's money, and then we're going to make everybody happy by not taking in as much, not taxing the people for what we're spending, and we're going to pass it on down the line until we're just the United States right now is a gigantic pyramid scheme, and whoever gets caught at the bottom of it when it collapses is not going to be pretty.
No, it's not. I tell you who's going to, and I'm hoping it's not this generation, but I hope it's not any generation. We shouldn't be in this position, and Republicans have as much to blame for this as anybody. It's not like it's all on the Democrats, because Republicans love to spend money and be able to say they brought the pork home. But somewhere along the line, we have got to get back to, and this will be the year. In fact, they don't have an excuse. They have to get back to the regular order of business and actually pass a budget that has gone through the appropriations process. No more continuing resolutions and then piling on extra pork bills They've got to get back to regular order business and begin scaling this bad boy back. They've got to.
Yeah, and that's another thing they talk about. If we don't pass this bill, we're going to have a 60% increase in taxes. Well, I hate to tell you, but every Congress can pass whatever bills they want. This Congress should have buckled down and actually wrote a budget. They are supposed to have a budget every year, and they just keep passing the buck along, and that's what we've come up with right now. We're spending money in stupid ways, and that we need to figure out that we need to operate within our means instead of what it takes to keep us in office, basically.
Yeah, well, that's right. But the problem is the people who are in office have no term limits, and so they try to protect their career. And yet, if you want to get term limits done, you got to go through the people who don't want the term limits to get them done. I mean, it's an ugly catch-22.
And actually, it falls back upon we're a suicidal nation. Basically, we're trying to Darwin ourselves because we're the ones who keep putting these people in there, and mostly because of people who don't pay taxes get to get stuff from everybody who does pay taxes, and they basically don't have a dog in the fight there as far as paying taxes. And this country, when we started out, you may seem wrong and everything, but at one time the only people that could vote in this country were the people who had property owners.
Yeah,
that's how it started out. And
yeah.
People don't realize that, but we messed up somewhere down the line.
I thought you were going to say we messed up and gave women the vote, and then all of a sudden, say, "Don't go there, Jeff. Don't go there."
Oh no, I want women to vote, but if they own property, hey, let them vote and everything. But when you don't have, but what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take away the safety net, and anybody that's able-bodied in this country has either got to work, create a job, or basically starve. We're going to have to make it so where if you're able-bodied and have no reason why you can't work, you're going to have to work or just go by the wayside and everything. And I'm not going to feel sorry for you because I'm working 70 hours a week, and I've been doing that my whole life. So, I'm tired of carrying the weight for people who's more able-bodied than me. That basically, I guess, are smarter than me because they don't have to work and I do.
Well, speaking of working, brother, where are you at right now?
I'm doing about 20 miles an hour, about 35 miles south of Nashville, because people can't merge.
Well, it's Friday, so I hope you get home sometime soon, man. You be careful on the road, all right?
All right. You all have a really good weekend now.
You too, brother. See you. Jeff with me. I'm so glad we got the phones fixed. I'm so glad we got the ability now to get Jeff back on. It almost felt kind of hollow sometimes in the last half hour not getting Jeff calling in. That just kind of felt
something
weird.
Wasn't missing.
Like, yeah, I mean, like he's the studio personality who's not in the studio, but he's here every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you what, that's one of the things I love about the show is there's so many characters that are a part. John from Huntsville is one of them. We got a bunch of regular callers that call in. All y'all that are chiming in daily, and some of them I look at and go, and I know what kind of text it's going to be when I see your name on the text line. And there are some that I know that I should read before I read out. But anyway, all right, listen, JP, I want you to go ahead and start moving it towards the break because I want to have a little moment, a little more time right after the break. So as soon as the music starts playing, we'll head out. But we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. I want to spend a minute. I've not said much about it today. I haven't said anything about it really. But today is actually D-Day. And I want to end on the note of recognizing one of the days that changed history. We'll close out with that. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Making common sense like a superpower. Just bulletproof influence. That's what we got. Hey, I want to spend a few minutes. I want to close out the show by honoring the fact that this is right now, June 6th. We are on the 81st anniversary of the Normandy invasion. 81 years ago today, the greatest generation saved the world. And I don't think anybody can argue that. The invasion of Normandy was a massive operation on a scale unlike anything ever seen in the history of the world. I mean, we had million-man armies, allegedly, when the Persians marched across the Hellespont trying to take Greece, and the Spartans stood 300 of them in the gap at the Hot Gates. It's said that they had a million-man army. I don't know if it's true or not, but nothing of the logistical scale of what happened with Operation Overlord, the battle for Normandy, 81 years ago today. Now, at the point we're talking about right now, and I realize there's a time lag difference, there's a 12-hour difference between us and Europe, but the reality is, last night, I could not help but think, as a paratrooper, that last night, the men of the 82nd Airborne and the 101st and the British paratroops, the para regiments and the glider troops were all doing their thing. They were all going in. And it's literally just one of the most amazing things in my mind to think about, having jumped in peacetime, what it would have been like to have jumped in that. And by the way, parachutes were new. This was not like something that had been done much before. This was the very first ever major parachute operation in a combat zone. And there are so many things that happened in that. But D-Day, 1944, with paratroopers already hitting the ground, we had 1,200 plane airborne assault, 1,200 planes carrying paratroopers and gliders. And then we had over 5,000 vessels in the amphibious assault. Nearly 160,000 troops crossed the English Channel on June 6th. More than 2 million Allied troops were in France just about 60 days later. Can you imagine the logistical effort that it took place to get that done? And so as the U.S. troops hit the beaches at places named Utah and Omaha and Sword and Gold and Juneau, in some places it was kind of, I don't want to say a cakewalk, but it was shockingly unopposed. And then others, it became a meat grinder where basically if you survived the first wave, you were forever in a club that had a very small membership. Places like Pont de Hoc, when the Rangers climbed the cliffs under withering fire. Can you imagine climbing a cliff on a knotted rope, looking up at Germans who are dropping grenades and firing down on you while you climb the cliffs? And they took those cliffs. And all of this happened. And literally the first day was the day. And heroism was the call of the day. It was a thing that became, the uncommon became the common. And the world was really changed. And there were things that happened in the midst that some of which have kind of gone by the wayside. And there were little moments of heroism that people may never know ever happened. There were things that happened, like it was Teddy Roosevelt's own son, a brigadier general, the only general who went ashore in the first wave, who actually died of a heart attack on the beachhead area just a few days later, who was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. And then there was a group of British soldiers, glider troops. Well, my grandfather was a glider troop. My grandfather was a glider rider with the 82nd Airborne and moved into the 18th Airborne Corps headquarters not long thereafter. But my grandfather was a glider rider. I know what that means. And there were glider troops of the British para regiments who seized a bridge that became known as the Pegasus Bridge because their emblem was the Pegasus winged horse. They seized that bridge, and there are some who say, and Stephen Ambrose wrote the book called Pegasus Bridge, which is a great read. I highly recommend it. But Stephen Ambrose wrote that book, and there are some who say that had those British paragliders not landed when they did and seized that bridge as they did, if they had not done that, it might have jeopardized the Normandy landings, because that bridge wound up being one of the key places that prevented the Germans from being able to reinforce the beachhead. All that to say, the leaders, including General Dwight Eisenhower, labored over this. And I see you just put up a picture of the Pegasus Bridge. Thank you very much. But General Eisenhower labored over this. The weather was horrible. They didn't know if they were going to have the window they needed. If they sailed across, flew across, tried to jump in, and the weather didn't clear, it was going to be an awful day. Not that it was an easy day to begin with. But they finally saw, they thought they had a window, and they went with it. And the rest is history. As the troops were staging and getting ready to go out, General Eisenhower had written out a note. He wrote it himself, and he had it disseminated to all the troops, and it was read out to them as they embarked. Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force. Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force, you are about to embark upon the great crusade towards which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts, you will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well trained, well equipped, and battle hardened. He will fight savagely, but this is the year 1944. Much has happened since the Nazi triumphs of 1940 and 41. The United Nations have inflicted upon the Germans great defeats in open battle and man-to-man. Our air offensive has seriously reduced their strength in the air and their capacity to wage war on the ground. Our home fronts have given us an overwhelming superiority in weapons and munitions of war and placed at our disposal great reserves of trained fighting men. The tide has turned. The free men of the world are marching together to victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us beseech the blessings of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking. Dwight Eisenhower. That's an epic note that goes down in history on the eve of the greatest invasion in the history of the world, which will probably never be surpassed. But it literally happened 81 years ago today. I saw today, too, JP actually pointed it out to me that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is in Normandy right now, and he was actually doing PT on the beaches at Normandy with Rangers near the Pont de Hoc site where they climb the cliffs. That's the kind of thing we have to. And that's the kind of thing, by the way, that is the reason why we are a free world. There's no way in the world anybody could ever say anything less than we are made free because of the sacrifices that went before us. And so today, June 6th, 2025, remember that 81 years ago today, a whole lot of young men went ashore, parachuted into the dark of night, and did things that no one has ever done before and hopefully will never have to do again in order to make the world a free place. D-Day, Operation Overlord, 81 years ago today. All right, well, there you have it. And yeah, I do recommend the book, Pegasus Bridge. I mean, you'll get a clear indication of what it was like. It's written by Stephen Ambrose, the same guy that wrote Band of Brothers. And I will say, too, that Band of Brothers is still, to me, one of the greatest, documentary-style movies to clearly do honor to the people that did the things that they did. All right, man. Listen, we're going to have a great weekend, but we're going to have a greater weekend because of what happened 81 years ago today. That's all there is to it.
Dare I say the greatest military achievement, in my opinion, that's just insane to me when you think about what they accomplished.
Absolutely.
But not only that of the what they accomplished, but the effects of it. Like imagine if that did not succeed, how much different the world would be today.
Everything rested on that.
Yeah.
It was the hinge point. Absolutely. Sure was. All right, you guys, listen, y'all have an amazing weekend. I say it all the time, but I mean it when I say it. This audience means the world to us. JP and I